Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Super excited to be here. As you can see, I'm in a little bit different setting today because I got my studio being redone. So I'm working out of my office, and I've got Dan Zitofsky here with Zitofsky Capital Management. I got it right that time.
Awesome.
With me, and I'm super excited to have him because this guy's very well-rounded. You'll hear about all the different things that he does from a business standpoint and a real estate investing standpoint, but also has a very good feel on how to have fun in life. And that's kind of why I wanted to have him here, because he's all about lifestyle, freedom, things like that. And as entrepreneurs, as commercial real estate investors, a lot of times we're like on mission 24/7 and we don't know how to sit back and chill. So hopefully Dan can break us through on that a little bit. Dan, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here, man.
Oh, thanks so much, my man. I was looking forward to this. I get requested to do a lot of podcast interviews and speaking events around the world now, and both live and here. And when I look at my calendar, I saw we're doing this. It was pretty cool to know. I'm kind of looking forward to this, and hook it up with you. We know each other on online for a while, and just to like bring some value. Hopefully, I can bring some value to your audience and just open their eyes to living that life by design that most people wish for and talk about, but never truly act on that. So hopefully I can bring some value to this group in this short amount of time.
Oh, I'm confident you will. All right, so let's dive into this. First of all, you're up in Delaware, all right, and you're big into pickleball.
Yes.
Or are you getting into
it? I started it last year, and I actually got kind of addicted to it because I have a lot of free time, and I've been at the gym, and I've been starting to run. I was on a health journey. I lost 90 pounds, and I got into pickleball just as golf was boring me, right? I'm just on the golf course. It really bored the crap out of me. I love being out there with my friends, but I was like, I need something more challenging. I was always an athlete. I played football, and pickleball just, is the going thing. And I said, let me jump in here. And, I'm not going to let these old people beat me, but man, they kicked my butt. And that's all I needed. Like some 80-year-old woman to kick my butt on the court. And I'm like, that's not happening. So I got kind of addicted to it, and it's fun and it exercise. And I was playing, I got to say, I'm blessed. I get to live life by design. I say that all the time, but I was carving out, every morning for 2 to 3 hours. I was playing pickleball before most people woke up, and I had a good time. Then I got a bunch of friends out of it. I actually raised a lot of money, I got to say, from people I played pickleball with. We'd go to coffee afterwards, have conversations. And it was just a cool thing to do. And I got addicted to it. The only thing bad up in the Northeast, and that's what we're talking about, is, we don't have beautiful weather all year long. I mean, it doesn't get freezing here, but we don't have beautiful weather all year long. And when you mentioned you're in Naples, I'm like, man, you must be a pickleball champion, because in Naples, it's the pickleball capital of the world. That's where the championships are held, and it's pretty cool to be out there. And I know I have some investor friends out there that they're just phenomenal now because they get to play 7 days a week.
Yeah, there's actually pickleball started out, and I'm not an expert and I don't even play it, but pickleball started out as kind of the old people's version of tennis, and now it's become very young, very youthful. A lot of young people that are in it. A lot of people have transitioned from tennis. And I know that's not necessarily the topic of this show, but I think being able to be well-rounded and have fun is important. And I think that's kind of your whole thing, is living life by design. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what you've done to kind of,
Sure.
I believe there's been some transition, right? You started out in flips and wholesaling and kind of moved into debt, and maybe give us a 2-minute breakdown of what you do from a professional standpoint.
Sure. I've been in this business 34 years. Like every investor, I've probably gone through a gamut from wholesale and fix and flipping, rentals, multifamilies, land deals, hotel deals. But ultimately, I was very transactional. I made a lot of money. I was flipping, 40, 50 properties a year, netting $50,000 to $80,000 a property. And I was doing that for many years. So some of my properties was netting over 6 figures. Did multifamilies. I sold those all in 2019. I was very transactional for a lot of my career, to the point where I almost lost my wife and my kids because I was never really around for them. And then my mentor back in the day, I was coined the most depressed millionaire you'd ever meet. And it was true. I was very depressed back then, and almost lost everything. Right, the most successful person in my friend group, they thought everything was great. I'm living in a country club on a golf course, beautiful cars, vacations, and we were miserable because I was never around. And I was doing it because I was just trying to feed my ego. Because growing up, I'm not a rags to riches story, but growing up, I always said, I didn't have much. I didn't have a great childhood. And I always said, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna have money. I'm never gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna have money. I'm gonna be happy. And that's all I chased was money. And that's how I got into cars, boats, and we talked about the watch collection, right? We did that because but that fueled my ego. That's the only reason I was doing it back then. Now it's totally different. So when I realized that, transactional, I could make a lot of money, but I'm not truly present. I'm not truly living my vision. Well, my mentor got with me and he said, why are you doing what you're doing? And the bottom line was I was doing what I was doing, right? So I could live the life I wanted to live, to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. But I was working 100 hours a week. I wasn't really doing that. And if the economy changed, my business stopped the minute I stopped flipping properties or transactionally. So I had to divert into passive income. And from there, I really got into, rental properties, single families, and seller finance notes. I'll sell properties, turnkey rentals to investors, and I help them build the legacy wealth for themselves. And I do it by seller financing. I sell them for cash deals or seller financing in emerging markets. So good markets, good jobs, good infrastructure in place, low crime, low taxes, decent schools, where they can make themselves, 8 to 10% cash on cash return on single families. Plus, well, the internal rate of return, they make it in the high teens, but they're letting a tenant pay off their debt, and they're pretty much passive. I mean, rentals are not 100% passive; they're active passive, right? But yeah, property managers in place. But I turned around and I said, okay, I'm going to help them out, but I'm going to help myself out too. I'm going to create seller finance notes. So most of my portfolio, 2/3 of my portfolio, I sell my properties on seller finance notes. 1/3 I own and operate those properties. Now I also raise capital and I help invest in deals. So I'm involved in family office deals. I'm involved in, private equity deals. So when you start getting to that level, you start bringing your money in, you start lending it out, and I make maybe a less of a return, but I do less work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm happy with those returns I make with good quality operators. And for me, over the next 8 years, I'm really focused on creating my own single family office, right, for my legacy. So that's really where I'm at. And I'm so laser focused on my vision. If it doesn't fit my vision, I don't care how much money I can make. I don't do the deal. It allows me to speak all over the world. It allows me to write my books. I had my book, Passive to Prosperous. Yes, that's me. That was before I lost weight.
90 pounds, right? 90 over 90 pounds.
And I've been running. I'm training to potentially be in a bodybuilding competition. That's been a little tough, but I've been running. I've been working out. I've been playing pickleball. Life has just been great. I have 3 amazing kids. I have 2 beautiful grandchildren now that I get to do what I want when I want with them. I told you I just got to go to Kentucky Derby for the first time. I just got scuba dive certified. I'm planning on getting flight certified as a pilot. So there's all these, bucket list items I want to do. And as a transactional investor, I wasn't able to do those. And now I'm truly able to do those. So really, in the grand scheme of things, I raise capital from investors. I give them those better than average returns. I base it on very, very conservative type deals or investments. And I create passive income. That's my business now.
So I think that's a good learning lesson for everybody too, is notice that he started out transactional, created large chunks of cash, and then was able to change into a more passive investment strategy. And I like how even your active investments, you exit into a passive cash flow stream, right? So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like? Are you saying that so let's say you buy a single family home, you rehab it, and then you sell it on seller financing to an investor as a rental property? Or can you maybe go a little bit more in detail on how that works?
You got exactly right. I'm buying assets from multiple places. I mean, as easy as from a seller direct, from a wholesaler. I get a lot of my assets from asset managers or banks. It could be non-performing notes I buy, first mortgages that people don't pay. I could buy REOs from banks, foreclosures. I could buy short sales. However I get my properties, I get my properties. I pick an emerging market. I don't go all over the United States. I focus in like 2 or 3 markets. I buy those properties in distress. I get a fully rehabbed at a high-end rehab because I don't want to sell properties that have problems. I do a high-end rehab. Okay. I sell them for cash or seller financing. If I sell it on seller financing, I sell it for 15% more. Reason why is there's time value of money for 30 years, right? So if I sell a property for $100,000 cash, I'll sell for $115,000 on seller financing. Now, when I sell it on seller financing, I'm able to pay my private lenders back in 12 to 18 months or less. And how do I do it? Because I take 30% down, right? And I'll write a first and a second mortgage. Then I'll sell the second mortgage off to a passive investor, has IRA money, 401k money, Coverdell, health savings account money, infinite banking policies. I'll sell it to them where they want to get that 7, 8, 9, 10% return on their money. I get all my money back. I pay my private lender back, and I stay in the deal for 30 years on the first mortgage without any skin in the game. So I can't legally guarantee anything. I'm not allowed to. I can't even talk about it. But I always, when I do my events and my classes and I train or I speak, I'm dying for an audience member to come to me and say, there's something. I always say, what's the worst that could happen? And obviously everybody says, they pay you back, which is, they don't pay you back, which is probably the best that happens because I get the property back.
Get to start over, right?
I want to take the property and resell for another 30% down, but I could. It's never happened. And my 5 legal docs are so powerful that I really don't have any legal issues with these. And I only do these in markets that are quick to evict and quick to foreclose. So I protect my private lenders tremendously. And that's really what people ask me, what keeps me up at night? And it's the fact that I have to pay my private lenders back. So I want to get them out of the deal as fast as possible so they get their money back and their return back and then stay in the deal for 30 years. But I need cash in the game. I don't have to deal with tenants, toilets, and trash after that. So that's how I do it. So when you have a seller finance note, you have 5 exit strategies.
Yeah.
I talk about those 5 exit strategies in detail when I talk about this.
Talk about them. Let's go through them. What are the 5?
Sure. Exit 1 is you sell the whole note off. You write a note out for $70,000, you sell it off. You can sell it just like co-selling a deal. They're the most sought out. Just understand a seller finance note, a performing, fully underwritten, fully serviced seller finance note with equity, skin in the game, rehab is the most sought after note. I could sell them in minutes. So I could sell the note in full. That's my first one. Second strategy is I carve out a first and a second. Let's say my second is at 10.99% and I have an investor at 7%. I bring an investor at 7%. I sell them the note and I collect 3.99% on top of that. I got all my money back, pay my private lender. Now I keep the first in full and I keep the second spread. You get that? Yep. My third strategy is I sell partials. Partial real breakdown is like options, which means you could turn around and you can sell payments. So I have 360 payments, 30 years. I can sell 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 payments, whatever I want to sell. So I have an investor who comes to me and they say, I have an IRA or I have a kid's Coverdell account with $20,000 in there. That's all they have. They really can't do much of a deal. Say, great. Well, let me carve out 25 payments for you, which will give you 8% return on your money. Now the 25 payments, you pay me the cash value up front. I put it in my pocket. What do you think? After the 25 payments, the 26 then reverts back to me like a boomerang. And now I get from 26 to 360, right?
Sure.
Fourth option is hypothecation. Is I could borrow against that note. Almost like the other options. But if I have a $100,000 note or like say $70,000 note and you have $30,000 and I'm charging 9.99% interest and you want 7% of your money, you give me $30,000. I do a collateral assignment. Once I pay you $30,000, I get the collateral back. I charge 9.99. I pay you 7%. I make the spread, but I still make the balance from your 30,000 to 70,000. Yep. Then option 5, which is the biggest option, is game changer. I haven't used it yet, but I have them approved. I get leverage from community banks. I have 2 community banks that give me leverage. You can get between 4 and 10% leverage on your note. So on a $100,000 note, that's $400,000 to $1 million in leverage for every note you have. I get prime minus a half, but you have to work that relationship out with your banker. I haven't used the money yet because I haven't needed it. But imagine if you're a commercial real estate investor and you have a project and you need to raise capital for it, and you could pledge your notes to a bank, you give them the collateral, you're going to personally guarantee it. They're going to give you a line of credit on it. And now you can go out. You don't even have to worry about raising money. And right now, prime is high, but it's still better than what most people raise money at. So those are my 5 options. So when you have a seller finance note, when you own a seller finance note, it's like an ATM card. You can go to the bank and instantly you can get money for it. Instantly you could sell it because there's a lot of people that don't want to deal with tenants, toilets, or trash. They don't want rental properties. So with the seller finance note, you're not dealing with tenants, toilets, or trash. Think about this. If you own a house and your toilet bowl breaks, you're not picking up the phone and calling Chase Bank saying I have a broken toilet bowl. They don't care. Fix it. Right? They don't care about any of that stuff. So that's why I like it. But to get into that world, the real way to get into that world is to do it the way I do it. Pick up rental properties, own them, and then sell it. When you're ready to be done, sell them off on seller financing or cash. So
love it. That's so interesting. I've bought a lot of loans as well, but I've bought existing loans, typically non-performing. I've only bought a handful of performing loans. And the reason that I bought non-performing loans is because I was going after the real estate, right? So I wanted to buy the underlying, or I wanted to buy the underlying property. And so what I would do is I'd buy them from banks, funds, individuals who held them,
Right.
and would basically buy that debt when the borrower had already stopped paying. And there's other exit strategies to that. You can get the loan reperforming, right? Get the person back paying, and then you sell that loan exactly what like he was talking about. But if you're buying the loan at a discount, because non-performing loans are typically bought at a discount below par, below what the unpaid balance is, usually a fairly good sized discount, depending on where the market is. Yeah, depending on where the market is. But when I was buying them, it was pretty much 2009 to 2013, which was a lot of distress. And so lenders, funds were selling them at pretty significant discounts. And then you can get the loan reperforming, the tenant or the borrower paying, and then you sell that loan off as a reperforming loan at a much higher balance or a much higher purchase price. You can take back the property, which is what I did. I take back the property by either foreclosing or doing a friendly foreclosure or a cash for keys situation, deed in lieu of foreclosure. We'd get the property back, and then we'd rehab it and either sell it or whatever we were going to do with it. Cool thing is you could actually do exactly what Dan just talked about: buy the non-performing loan, get back the property, rehab it, and then sell it on seller financing to create a performing loan, and then either do all the different strategies that he talked about. But yeah, I even bought my first mobile home park as a non-performing loan from a bank, foreclosed on it, did a workout with the borrower. He paid me to get off his personal guarantee. So I love notes. And that's kind of why I wanted to get you on here as well, because I know that you do a lot in the note business. Definitely a different angle than what I've done, because yours sounds more like performing, where I've done mostly non-performing. So I'm excited to learn more about this.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I come from I'm at 30, almost 34 years in the business. 18 of them, 18 years ago, I started buying non-performing seconds. Right. And then really quick, about a year and a half later, I switched to I did what you did. I bought non-performing first. And I was the guy really quick. I was the guy who went after to unoccupied non-performing first and REOs. Nobody else wanted those because their only strategy was to get the note reperforming. That was it. That was their only strategy. They didn't want the house. Sure. They just wanted the note to reperform. But when you do that, one, it's a little different today because I still buy them. Right now, that we were buying them back in the day at like 50, 55 cents, the UPB or BPO. Now they're paying like up to 90. Believe it or not, non-performing first, they're up at about 90 cents on the dollar, right? So they're not advantageous now. They will change again, but that's today, 2024, where they're at, right?
Right.
So I only did that because it was another way for me to get a deal where I didn't have to go and market to sellers direct. I didn't have to deal with everybody else going and dealing with sellers direct. I had asset managers bringing me deals, and I was just picking out pools of assets of what I wanted. But my deal was I started legal. So when I bought those non-performing notes like you did, I didn't wait. I started legal day one, right? And if they worked it out, and my mission statement was back then was giving people a second chance at homeownership while making an income in doing so. So I always said, if I foreclose on you, you have to foreclose on yourself. I wasn't going to foreclose on you if you worked with me, but I wasn't going to stop. And I only bought a note. One of my rules with my private lenders that I would raise capital from is I will only buy a note on a property I want to own. I didn't care how much money that note could make. If I didn't want to take that property back, I didn't buy that note. And that was just a way for me to do acquisition. So buying non-performing note was a way for me to do acquisition, to get these properties, to turn them into turnkey rental properties for myself, and to sell them to. I work with a lot of like medical professionals for whatever reason. I'm big in the dental community, chiropractic community, physical therapists. I get a lot of them. I have some pilots I work with. I have a bunch of nurses I work with right now that come to me and they just want to pick up. They don't want to be active investors. They don't want to deal with non-performing notes and legal and collateral and lost note affidavits, and they don't want to deal with servicing. They don't want to deal with it's called the scratch and dent, right?
Right.
So they love either buying turnkey rentals or they love buying performing notes where they don't have to think about anything. It just goes right in their IRA or 401k or their home equity. They don't care, especially when they were getting lines of credit in the 3s and 4s. They don't care. I have a lot of people doing whole life banking policies that will arbitrage those right now. They'll pull money out in the sixes and they'll make, 7, 8, 9% on it. But it's a very, very conservative asset class right now. And that's what they like. They like to sleep at night. They're not happy with their money in the stock market. They're not happy with the presidential election going on. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't trust, inflation. They don't trust the economy. They don't trust foreign relations. So they're like, I just want to get my money out of the stock market right now. And I don't like to raise money that way. I don't like to put the fear in people. I don't play that game. It's, if you want to invest in this with hard assets, that's what I help people do. If you want to stay in the stock market, stay in the stock market. I don't say good or bad about either. I know what I do.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was buying non-performing loans. I wanted the real estate. It was an acquisition strategy. I actually wouldn't buy a non-performing loan unless it was, call it 6 to 12 months delinquent, because I didn't want to buy something that was actually going to become reperforming because I didn't have an interest in selling the debt. It was, I'm going to get the property back. That is my entire strategy. So very different than yours. You're a nicer guy than me. I'm like, hey, look, you're so far behind. I'll let you off the hook easy. Won't go after you for the balance. Won't report it on credit, but you're going to give me the deed. I'm going to give you a few bucks for moving. We'll work it out to where it's a win-win for each of us, but I'm getting that property. So it was really a strategy to acquire the real estate. And you're right. Let's talk about that really quick, because debt is a very cyclical strategy to invest in. So especially non-performing. There was a lot of non-performing loans to be bought between, call it 2009, 2012. And then after, when the whole distressed market pretty much dried up and we went to a more normalized market, that strategy was gone. I mean, I hadn't seen non-performing loans till about last year. So end of last year, or middle of last year, I started seeing some non-performing debt coming across my desk, and both on residential and commercial. I hadn't seen any for years. And so don't go start a business around non-performing loans, because it's going to boom and it's going to bust. But I think I think you've got a really cool strategy to create passive income and good streams of income so that you can live life by design. Now, I also noticed that you do multiple strategies at once. Can you maybe give us some insight? Because I'm like a one-trick pony. Mobile home parks, self-storage. And self-storage is more of like a secondary property type. We buy them, we hold them, long-term investment. Like, that's our business strategy, right? And I've gotten very, very good at it over a long period of time. But if I start dabbling in other flips, wholesaling, single-family stuff, notes, all these different things, man, I'm not going to be good at any of them. But it sounds like you're good at doing a lot of different strategies. Can you maybe talk about how you've been able to manage that and be good at all of them?
Well, I'm going to say I agree with you, right? I always call it like a funnel. I don't go into any deal and say, okay, this is my only one thing I'm going to do, but everything funnels into non-transactional for me, right? How do I bring this asset class in? And for me, I look at everything like it's either going to be two things. Really, it's two things. It's going to be a rental property for my portfolio, which means it's a legacy type property, which doesn't work for seller financing for most investors, right? Or it's going to be a rental property that I could sell off to an investor, help them build their portfolio and their wealth, and I could sell it to them for either cash or seller financing. That's all I do. I mean, over years, so if something falls on my lap, I don't look for it, and it doesn't fit any of those things, I'll wholesale it off. I'll just get rid of it, right? It doesn't fit those things. So for me, everything I do, like I just bought a bunch of land in Roatan, right? Beautiful lots on the mountain that's highly sought after in the right area. I work with the right people. I have a team in place. So I bought those. Why? I carved out a few of them to pay for all my infrastructure. The rest of them, I'm going to sell off in the next 1 to 3. I could sell a couple off now. I'm going to sell them off now, sell them off in the next couple of years. And I'm going to do the same thing because they can't get easy financing out in Roatan to build on the mountains. I'm going to hold seller financing for them. So everything I do is just acquire to complete my vision. So if it's just, hey, I'm going to buy a property, build a house and sell it, I'm not interested.
Got it.
I have no interest, right? I'm very non-transactional. The only thing I'll do is I'll carve out a couple of lots to sell them off to cover all my infrastructure costs. I don't have to come up with any more money. And then I'll hold them and I'll seller finance them. Same thing.
So it's a funnel, like you said. You've got all these different strategies of buying them, but then the exit always comes down to Okay, got
It's
it.
got to fit my niche. If it doesn't fit my niche, so I get people all the time tell me, "Hey, do you want to get involved in this development deal? We could do this. It's going to make all this money. It's a great deal." But no interest, and they get upset. You'll make no interest. I have no interest in all. It's just I stay so far away from transactional deals right now because it doesn't fit my vision. And I'm in this. People are like, well, what are you still doing this for? I have my core values in my family and my life are abundance, right? I do it because I want to support some major fundraisers that I'm part of, and I love doing it. I love coaching. I love teaching. I don't coach one-on-one anymore. I love teaching people. I love speaking at events. I love doing my online trainings, my personal inner circle events where I bring high quality entrepreneurs together and I teach them what I do. I get to teach them what I do. So that's why I do it, and allows me to help organizations that I'm part of, right? So that's what I love what I do. So I don't want to take away from that chasing money, right? We're blessed. We have a tremendous amount of seller finance notes. We have a tremendous amount of single family properties that bring us in a good amount of money. I'm invested in right now 14 syndicated funds, private equity funds, family office stuff that brings me in some nice passive income. I'm able to help my investors get a return on their money. I do some hard money deals myself, right? Everything for me, though, is based on I bet on the jockey, not the horse, right? I want to work with great operators that are ethical, moral. They live by the same core values or close to my core values, and we align. And that's who I work. That's who I work. Even when I raise money, I don't raise money from people that I don't align with because I don't want to deal with them, right? So, but it's all based on passive income. For me, everything is about passive income.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's say I'm wholesaling property, okay? Or let's say I'm in flipping mode. How does somebody go from that transactional buy, sell to going into a buy with a sell with seller financing? Like what's the mindset that needs to change? And then also what is the actual step-by-step that somebody has to take to get that going?
Well, the mindset is a great question. You have to get out of that transactional mindset, right? You have to sit down. When I work with somebody and I mentor them, I sit down with them and I go, what's your vision? What are you doing this for? Why are you doing this? What is your goal? How much do you need to get there? How much time do you have? What's your skill set? Do you raise money? Do you have money? Where are you good? Where is your genius zone? What are you good at? Let's focus on what you're good at, and let's carve out what you're not good at and get that done. Because when I ask people, like if you ask almost everybody why they're in this business, it's because I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, but you're not because it's like if you talk to if you talk to a chiropractor, right? Your spine is out of alignment. You're saying this, but you're going here, right? Yeah. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it with whom I want to do it. But at Sunday night at 9 o'clock, I had to leave the restaurant for an hour to talk to a contractor and my realtor to close the deal. So I couldn't sit with my wife and our four couples that we were with. And that's when the whole thing blew up because I was never really present. Yeah. So are you really doing what your vision says? So that's your mindset.
You got a job, you own a job, you own something that owns you. You don't really have that freedom. Yeah. It's a transactional business.
I'll tell you what, when I owned my multifamilies, the 800 doors I sold off, the final 800 doors I sold off, I was miserable. I felt like all I was doing was working for my investors. I was making money, or I pound my chest. I tell people I have all this properties on the management. It sounded good, but I'm looking at what I'm putting in the bank. I'm like, this is ridiculous. The amount of hours I'm working, and I'm doing a 70-30 split. I'm getting 30% with 2 other partners. This is horrible. This is absolutely terrible. Spending 3 hours on Monday morning management calls, terrible. So that was not the life I wanted to live. That was not the vision I set for myself. And when I talk about it, I tell people this, if they're listening at this and take these notes, 1 is set your vision. 2 is take your calendar out and draw on your calendar. If money and time weren't an object, what would your life look like? And then you always have to back into it, right? So you can't go this way with no direction. You got to say, okay, I need to make this much money per month. I need these many hours. And like for me, I don't take a call before 10 a.m. I have my ritual before 10 a.m. or what I do all the time. And if a call, it's not a business call. I'm not doing any business call before 10 a.m. In the summer, if you would ask me, hey, I want to do a podcast in middle of July, I probably would have said, do me a favor, just hit me up that day. And if I'm available, I'll do it. Because if the weather was junky, I would do it. If the weather's nice, I'll be on the boat or the beach. That's what I do all summer. I don't try. I speak at one event in the summer, at the end of June, and that's it. I'm done speaking. I don't speak anymore. I built this life where I built a beautiful house on the water with my own dock and my own boat. I live by the beach, on the bay. I have a great time. Also, I live for the summers here. So that's the mindset part of it, right? And then I tell people, listen, if you're a wholesaler, first of all, you got to be careful what's going on, right? The government's getting involved in wholesaling, and that's an issue I see, and that's why I'm raising, one of the things I do is I'm raising capital for our next debt fund to do transactional lending, to help wholesalers close on deals. And I always tell wholesalers, learn how to close on deals, right? Yes, you might make a little bit less money on each deal, but start closing on new deals, all right? And then I'm not saying don't wholesale all your deals. If you want to wholesale, that's fine. But understand, when that wholesaling stops, you stop making money. So why not this? If you're wholesaling 4, 5, 10, I know companies that are wholesaling 20 to 30 deals a month. If you're doing that, let's figure out how much money you need to live the life you're talking about. And I'm not saying you need to make what Dan Zitofsky's making, right? Because I don't want you to compare yourself to me. What do you need to live the life you're talking about? And it might be to get out of that 9-to-5 job. Maybe you need $5,000 a month. Maybe you need $10,000 a month. Let's figure out what you need. Let's work backwards. So if you're wholesaling all these deals, maybe you only need 10 deals with seller financing to live the life you want. If you can make $600 or $800 a deal, and you can take $10,000, $20,000 off the table on each one for 10 deals, right? Now you're making $8,000 a month plus $100,000 cash. Now next year you do another 10 deals. Now you're at $16,000 a month with another $100,000 cash. Now if the economy went to crap, if everything crapped to bed and there was no more real estate, like in 2008, 9, 10, when everybody lost everything, and we made it through because of what we were doing, you and I, you're okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay. So work backwards, right? And I'm not saying you have to just like this, stop wholesaling, stop fix and flipping, but look at the deals that work for you and say, that's like me, though. The deals that I keep as rentals don't work for seller financing. I keep them in my portfolio. But the ones that work for seller financing, boom, I carve them out all the time. And that's how I did it, right? I stopped flipping. I started looking at other deals, and those deals were fitting seller financing. And you can seller finance to owners. I chose to do non-owner occupants because I wanted not to deal with Dodd-Frank, not to deal with CFPB, and I wanted to be a commercial loan, right? So I could do multiple loans. I could do multiple houses with less investors, right? I always tell people this number. In 2019, before COVID, because after COVID, our numbers went through. Everybody did great, right? Everyone shot up the roof. So I don't want to use those skewed numbers, but the realistic numbers in 2019, I did 182 properties. I sold them to 18 investors. My biggest investor bought 23. My smallest bought 1. But if you do owner occupant borrowers, 182 deals, I got to sell to 182 people.
Yes.
So once again, I carved out what I wanted my life by design to look like. And
it's much more scalable selling it to investors who are buying as multiple deals than selling to individual retail buyers who are going to move into it. A lot less emotion involved too when you're dealing with investors versus individuals. And on top of that, you made a great point. You don't have to deal with Dodd-Frank law and things like that. So now, are you servicing these loans yourself, or do you have a third-party servicer?
I use third-party service. I would never service them. I mean, there's people that do them themselves. And they come to me all the time, and they, what's that?
It's a job. You basically you created a passive income stream that you have to manage then.
Right? What is my genius zone and what do I suck at? I hate minutia and admin, right? I'm not an operational guy. If you took my predictive index, I'm off the charts to the right, a visionary. I'm your maverick. I don't want to deal with numbers, and I don't want to deal with that stuff. I want to be done. I want to put it to bed. Goes to the servicing company. I'm going to tell you this. I literally do nothing once I'm done with a loan. Nothing. I could close my laptop and my phone, never look again, and I'm okay. I have a servicing company. I have my bookkeeper. I have my CPA, and I have my attorney. If something's not paid, it gets sent to that email. The email sends out a demand. The attorney sends out a demand letter. The only reason something might not be paid is somebody switches their bank accounts for audit. It's all set up on automatic payment. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I didn't realize, and they change it. I don't do anything. And I don't even pay the servicing fee. My borrower pays it.
Sure. Now, do you also have a third-party originator that does the underwriting, or do you underwrite the borrower and then pass it on to the
There really is no underwriting, to be honest with you, because I don't care about the borrower. I'd say that, not to say mean, but you're giving me 30% down. If you don't pay me, I have the property back. Yeah. So there really is the only thing I have is my attorney does the legal docs. That's it.
How long are you amortizing those loans over?
30 years with a 10-year balloon and a 3-year prepay. And the only reason I do a 10-year balloon, I don't want to do a 10-year balloon, is because I got to make those notes the most powerful notes in the industry, so they're worth a lot. So the 10-10-10 rule is where you need to be. And that means at least 10% down, which I get 30%, 10% interest rate, which I'm at 9.99 and up, right? And a 10-year balloon. So at 10 years, when it gets to that point, I'll probably just renew the 10-year balloon.
Sure.
Right? I don't
always extend it.
50, 60 year. I don't want these paid back.
Yeah.
I want to keep collecting passive income. So people, you got to remember, so if I sell a property around $100,000 and you buy it for cash with $100,000 and you have $100,000 to invest, you're only getting one property, right? Now, if I sell you a $100,000 property and you have $100,000 cash and I take 30% down, you're not buying 3 properties. Correct. So I just created ultimately that a tenant's going to pay off for you $300,000 in net worth in your pocket. And I work with these people. I almost become, I'm not a licensed wealth advisor, but I almost become their wealth advisor. I sit down with them, like, and especially dentists. I keep saying this with dentists. They have this feel that they want out of their field. They don't like the insurance. They hate what they're doing. They're overworked, underpaid. They're killing themselves. Their neck hurts. Their back hurts. Their hand hurts from working. And they can't see themselves doing this for 40, 50 years anymore. So they're like, I need to be out of this business in the next 10 years, sell my practice, and have something to fall back on. So that was a dentist that year that bought 23 properties himself, right? Nice. So their goal is to buy a certain amount. So I tell them, listen, if you can just get one property a year for even the next 5 years, you'll be a multimillionaire when I'm done with you.
Yep.
I tell them, imagine you do 2 a year or for 10 years. Just keep buying for 10 years. And you're talking about 30% down. So they're paying, $40,000, $50,000 max per property. For them, it's nothing to do that. Over 10 years, think about it. If those properties are paid off, if they're only $130,000 properties and you have 10 of them and a tenant pays them off and they don't go up $1 in value, not $1 in value in 10 years, and the rent doesn't go up $1 in value in 10 years, which has never happened in history. Average real estate goes up 6% a year. Average rent goes up about 3% a year. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying year to year. I'm saying over any 10-year period since the Great Depression. If it doesn't go up $1 in value, you still guaranteed yourself certain things: depreciation, interest deduction, right? Tenant debt reduction every time a payment is made. If it's paid off in 10 years, 10 properties, you have $1.3 million. And let's say you're getting $1,500 in rent on 10 properties, that's $15,000 a month. If it didn't go up $1 in value. Yeah. So you can't do that in any other investment. It's impossible. You're not going to do that in the stock market. You're not going to own Apple outright. Sure. You're not going to get the tax benefits that you get here. You're not going to get the wealth that you get here unless you get lucky, right? You throw all your money in Bitcoin and it goes through the roof, right? And there are people that do these, the AMC stocks. They hit it. I'm not that risk taker, right? It's just not me. Yeah. I'm very consistent and conservative in what I do, but I've created a lot of wealth, not only for myself, but a lot of people I've worked with. And it's pretty cool to see that you're able to help people and their families do this.
Dan, I've noticed something. Your client profile very, very well. And I think that's a lesson for all the entrepreneurs and real estate investors listening is if you are going to offer something, understand their problems, understand the solutions and how to frame it to where it fits for them and they can comprehend it and they realize that it solves the problem. Just an example. How many times has Dan mentioned dentists on this call? Number one, he's marketing to dentists on this call. He knows he knows his profiles, right? But also he talked about their wrists hurting, their necks hurting. He knows all of their problems and knows how to hit those pain points to where they hear that and they're like, you get me. You get me. I want to do business with you because you want to solve my real problems. And so that's a lesson in itself is understand your pitch, who the profile is that you're pitching to, and get on their side of the table. Because I think a lot of times what people do is they go, I can offer an investment to everybody. You've mentioned doctors, dentists, pilots once, but mostly doctors, dentists, and he's hitting that home. All right. So take that into your own business and hone in on who your client is, because you might think that you're going to lose a lot of business because you're turning away all these people. You're actually going to get a lot more business because you're able to hone in and really become the expert in that network. And
Exactly.
so I love it. I bet you get a ton of referrals in that space because you're the expert in income creation and passive income creation for dentists and doctors and things like that. That's a huge learn right there. So maybe you could tell us, how did you pinpoint those professions to become an expert for?
I actually didn't intensely do this, right? It wasn't my intention to go out and do this. I was speaking at multiple events, right? I was going as a speaker and talking about how I created passive wealth. And I was really out there just raising money to buy deals, like everybody else was raising money at the time, for fix and flips and for rentals and stuff like that. And I was invited to a group to come in for accredited type investors. And I started working with couple dentists I remember back in the day. And what happened is I guess everybody has the hero syndrome, right? I have the best guy, I have the best girl, right?
Yeah.
I got a guy, I got a girl, right? So they started telling people, like, this guy is giving me these returns, and other people were complaining, and this guy's just giving me returns. And they're like, how is he get? Because they don't believe it's true. They believe it's a Ponzi scheme. You know, Bernie Madoff. And they're like, I don't know. And they told me the story. They said, I don't know, but all I know is I'm getting my checks every month from this guy on clockwork. He's great. These are the deals. And they start becoming your advocate, right? And I raise a lot of money. I've raised over 30 million in new money and over 400 million in velocity. So there's people that raise, I just came back from family office event. They raise way more, billions. Like, I'm not even close to them, but I don't need to raise that kind of money. And the one thing I tell people is I only have 42 investors that I work with actively. I mean, I have some people on my list, but those are the people that actively kind of always want to fund deals, right? They don't always all have money readily available because it might be out. But I believe in relationship capital. And I've always been like this. Even when I work with wholesalers, I said, listen, I want to work with people, relationships. I want you to bring me deals. I want you to know that I'm going to close what I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do. I do this the same thing when I lend people money, hard money on deals. I said, listen, if you're coming to me, you know I'm going to close. If you start going and saying, well, I can get 1% cheaper from somebody else, and you're only looking out for yourself, I'm not going to work with you. I'd rather work with people, relationships. So the people I work with, believe it or not, I get to hear their stories. I get to sit at their family's birthday party. I get to hear their complaints, right? So I hear their pain. I hear their pain points. Like you said, they do complain all the time. They're miserable right now. I mean, I know more about the medical profession. You can't imagine. I should be working in a hospital. What I know about that. Because I hear the complaints from teachers too, what they're going through, right? They want to leave the teaching field. They're starting to put money with us. I deal with city workers. City workers are getting their pension. They're retiring. They have these 457 plans. They don't know what to do with the money. All these financial advisors are trying to get their money, and they're scared. They're scared of the market. So, but I just hear them. And what you made such a good point, right? You said, like, really learn your avatar. And that's what I do. I really learn my avatar. I really love on them as much as possible. I really want to help them, right? I put them first. And I don't know if we probably talked about this on here or before we even got on, but I said, people ask me a lot of times when I'm on stage or on a panel, they're like, what keeps you up at night? And I had an investor that I was raising money from a group. It was a syndication group. I sat in front of them. There was like 14 or 15 people in that group. And one of the questions somebody asked me is, what keeps you up at night? And every time somebody asks me that, the first thing that comes to the front of my thought process is, I need to pay my investor back no matter what. And I've raised a lot of money, and I've never not paid $1 back. I've lost my own money plenty of times, more than I care to share, right? But I've never not paid an investor back. And that's what keeps me up at night today, is that, and the health of my family and stuff like that. But to me, the investors I work with, I don't want to go out there and just raise money from anybody. I want to become family with them. I want to love on them. I want to know their family, their kids, their grandkids. What are their goals? What are their dreams? So if something comes up, I could say, hey, Mary, this is great. This is what I got. Are you interested? Yeah. And I'll be putting my own money, if I have it, into the deal as well. So that's kind of the difference with me and raising money. And I think when I see other people raise money and they do a really good job, I see the same thing. They treat their investors like family, not just the transaction. I always believe people over, my friend Matt Merrill says, people over profits. And that's 100% how I built my business over the years. It's always relationship capital. And I go deep with people rather than wide. So if you do the same thing, if anyone in this audience does the same thing, you'll never have a problem raising money. And it's to the point where it's crazy. Like when it's literally a text message sometimes. I have a funny story real quick and we'll go on. I had a guy I just paid back a couple of years ago about $400,000. And I went on vacation. So we paid him back. We closed out a deal. It was 420 something thousand. I don't remember. So he got his money back plus his interest at the end of the deal. It was a deal where we were doing the deal. It was no money up front, and monthly was everything was at the end, because how we, there's no money made until the end. So I sent back to him. We went to Aruba. I still remember this. I get 2 messages, right? And my accountant and my booking knew I was away. I get 2 messages, call me. I have to speak to you immediately, right? All of a sudden, I get $400-something wired into my account. And we have no idea, because it says pending on our bank. It says pending, pending. We don't know where it's coming from. So we're like, oh my God, they thought I got hacked. Like, that's what people do, that wire money in your account and then take it out. We thought we got hacked. So we found out it was like 2 days later. And I'm on vacation in Aruba, and I'm stressing. What the hell's going on? I can't do anything with my bank. I can't figure this out. So finally, we figured it out. And it was one of my investors. And I called him up and I says, what'd you send me this money back for? He goes, oh, because I wanted your next deal. I go, you can't just send me money back. You can't just wire me money back. I don't have a deal right now. We got to get you another deal. He goes, oh, I want to be in your next deal. I don't want to be out. I don't want my money back. So that's one of the funniest stories there. But that's one of the biggest stresses I deal with now too. It's how do I get my investors' money in play? Because I see north of 10 to 15 deals every week, and most of them I say no to. So my investors know when I call them, my private lenders or my turnkey investors know when I call them, they just say yes. Yeah. They don't wait. They don't wait, because if they wait, it's going to go to the next person, right? But that's the relationship we have. It's a trust relationship. It doesn't happen right away. It takes time for people to know you, trust you, and like you. And that's kind of the relationship I am. And people know that how I am on social media is how when they see me in person, they're like, man, you're the same guy. You're no different. And they always ask me too. They're like, why don't you post these things on social media about your cards? I'm like, because nobody cares about me. They care about what I can do for them. I'm not here to beat my ego. I'm here to truly love and help on people. And if you do that, you'll never have trouble. You'll never have trouble in this business. You'll get knocked down, but you'll be able to get back up. And people will trust you. And something's not always going to go right. You do a deal, there's going to be a mess up. Something's going to happen. There's going to be the what ifs, but they know you're going to take care of them, and you're going to do the right thing. And you communicate always. You communicate good, bad, or indifferent. You always communicate with people.
For sure. So, hey guys, if you're looking to invest passively in mobile home parks and self-storage, go to equitygrowth.net and start getting into my deals. So listen, Dan, you've touched on a lot of good things here. I was actually speaking at an event last night, and I was talking about active investing versus passive investing. So something that you just said reiterated what I talked about. I don't ever take investor capital from someone that I don't want to go grab coffee or lunch with. Like, and you might say, well, that just sounds, arrogant, or that sounds like you're faking like you have too much access to money. That's actually not the case. There's been times where I've had a short deadline to put capital together, and the person who's offering me the money, I'm just like, man, I don't know if we can work together. Like, I don't know if I can deal with you for the next, my deals are 5 to 10 plus years because they're long-term commercial real estate deals. And so I'm marrying these people, they're equity partners of mine. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can handle you. And there's been times where I've just said, look, I'm not going to do the deal, but thank you. And then I completely avoid taking their money, because I genuinely want to get to know and be friends with the people that have invested with me and partnered with me, because it is not worth the brain damage and the headache and the stress of working with people who are just not aligned. And sometimes they're great people. They just have a different communication style. They're either too aggressive or too boring to talk to, whatever. And, I'm just being honest. Like, you've got to do business with people who you fit well with. And I also noticed something about what you were saying is you're working with a lot of blue collar people that have probably good pensions, good, access to capital, but you're not necessarily always going after the wealthiest entrepreneurs to get to provide, lending deals to. You're actually you're targeting a group of people that don't have access to a lot of investment opportunities. All the entrepreneurs, all the wealthiest people, they've got access to the best deals out there, right? Because everybody's pitching them deals constantly. But the city workers, the blue collar entrepreneurs, the plumbers, the electricians, those guys, nobody's calling them to manage their money for them, because they don't stand out as that wealthy individual. But you're giving them you're giving them an investment vehicle that Nobody else is. So I like that. That's another lesson to be learned. Find an avatar. I like the word avatar better than profile. Find an avatar client that other people are not servicing, and then be their hero, right? Help them out because nobody else is. I like
And
that.
it's things important because you become the expert in that like you mentioned what I said before with the dentist. Like the complaints or the conversations are the same across the board pretty much from them, right? So you get to really learn them and their pain points and how you can help them, right? It's not
Yeah,
really about what's in it for you, how you can get money, because you can go out and get money from anyone really if you
sure.
want to, right? But I truly love to have these conversations. I truly love to help those people. And you're right, your city workers, they come out and they're scared, right? They are scared. They don't know how to, a lot of them have kids. They don't know how to pay for their kids' college education if the kids decide to go to college. They don't know what they're going to do in retirement because they're getting pensions. They couldn't afford to live on their whole payment. Now they got to live on half their payment and go get a job somewhere. So they're not really truly retiring. So you start to hear their pain points, and you start to, be that person that salvages their misery, right, or their pain point.
Yep.
And I agree with you. Once you get to know them, and the other thing is, it's your appetite. Like, who do you? I always say, if I don't want to go out and have coffee or beer with you, that's my comment all the time. Then I don't want to work with you. And I always, the best deal is the ones you don't take.
Sure.
And it's not that you're being mean, but you really, when I teach how to raise private money, because I do teach this, and I tell people, I said, this is you got to be a little bit in a way cocky about it. This is your program. And man, people will come to me all the time and say, well, I could get this from this guy. I'm like, go get it. Like, this is my program. This is what I do. I'm not going to change what I do, because the minute I can't pay you back because you want these crazy returns, well, now you're going to throw, you're going to come to me. And I know, because I'm involved in syndications where I'm not getting paid back right now. So I know it sounded great, but when you don't get no money, it doesn't. What's on paper is different than what you get. And I've never not given people what I've promised them. So I always tell people, there's never a performer I didn't fall in love with.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, do you believe in balance?
100%.
Talk about that a little bit.
Balance in life and balance in investments, I believe.
Life, more of life, work-life balance.
100%. And I went through it, right? So I could definitely speak about that. And you got to be willing to give up one thing to chase something else, right? So you got to have a fine mix. And I even, consulted with some companies. I get brought in and consult with. It's funny, I'm going to mention this. 2 dentists that brought me in to consult with their company and help build their company, not on investments, but on balance. And you got to have that work-life balance, right? So you got to work on it. Goes back to the whole thing with the vision. What do you want to do, right? So carve out time. And when I do that, now my family, well, my kids are older now, but for years they understood there's certain times when I'm in my office working, I'm working, right? That's my time to work. But when I give my time to you, that's my time where I don't answer the phone. Right? That phone doesn't get answered unless it's an emergency for a family member. So I always tell you, if you have a family and you're talking about work-life balance, bring your family involved in what you're doing. Let them understand that, hey, when I'm working, and be 100% into what you're doing, everything you're doing, right? So if I pull up my calendar, I'm writing my next book. And if I show you at 10 o'clock in the morning every day, I'll pull up my calendar so you see it. I'll do it right now. Every day at 10 o'clock in the morning, it pulls up. You can see it. Write book. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Every day, 10 o'clock in the morning, it's on there. So I carve out 10 o'clock. And now I don't do calls before 10, but if something comes up at 10, I move it to like 10:30, 11. That's a work day.
Sure.
So when my wife knows that at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm going in wherever I'm at. It's outside on the water. It's on the beach. It's in my office. I'm closing my door and I'm spending whatever it is. It could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I could do nothing. I could just say nothing today because I didn't have any thoughts. But I'm doing this. I've been doing this for about a year and a half. And my first book took me 7 years to write. 7 years. But back in the day when they didn't have artificial intelligence writing your books for you, I'm never like I'm very it's all about me, right? When I say all about me, I'm writing the book. I don't want ghostwriters.
Yeah.
I answer my own messages on social media. It has to be authentic. I have to be authentic. That's one thing in this business. You can carve out other things for people to do, but you have to be authentic.
Sure.
But that's the thing I can say with family life balance. So remember earlier I said, figure out your vision and take a calendar and write in your calendar and get with your family too. Write in your calendar what your perfect day looks like, what your perfect week looks like, and your perfect year looks like. Put that on a calendar and carve it in stone. Now, phone calls, business phone calls can move around. but family time, right? Your gym time, working out, going for a walk, whatever it is you decide to do. And if you see my calendar, you'd be like, wow, this is actually insane. But I'm laser focused with that, because if I don't, I know me, I have the entrepreneur's curse. I'll start going in left field. But my wife also realizes it, because she tried to take me away on vacation to the Outer Banks where there's no cell phone service and Wi-Fi service. And I was miserable. Miserable, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping investors out. I enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy connecting people, right? I enjoy these podcasts. So don't take me away from that. But when I'm with you, and I carve out a lot of time to be with my wife, when I'm with her, right? Yeah. We're all in. When I'm there, I'm all in everything I do. So when I'm working out, give me my time. When I'm on.
What does it look like when you're not in balance? Because you said at one point you were super depressed. Yeah. You had, clearly you got up from a dinner, social event and went and worked. Like, what does it look like for someone who's out of balance so that they can recognize? Give us an example of like rock bottom.
Rock bottom for me was rock bottom when I was out. I mean, we were out with 4 couples to dinner on a Sunday night, and I had to take a call because I was flipping houses and I was having a problem. The closing was the next day and the realtor didn't get clearance. The inspector had to go back and inspect the property. So we're getting calls from the inspector on a Sunday, the realtor, the mortgage company, the buyers and the sellers are going crazy. And I'm outside trying to fix everything while we're out to dinner with 4 couples. It's supposed to be my time, right? And I was miserable. I was totally miserable. And my wife came out after the dinner. She threw my food in my stuff like a bag. She goes, here's your expletive words, dinner, choke on it. We went home. We had a massive fight because I thought I was doing everything for her, and I was yelling. And now I'm pissed because I'm like, I'm working my butt off, 100 hours a week. I'm buying her the most beautiful cars. I have a gorgeous house on the golf course. I'm vacations, jewelry, and she broke down and she's like, we didn't want any of this. This is all your ego. And now I saw it, and I'm getting more upset, and I'm getting more pissed because I'm working my butt off to give her everything and the kids everything. And she's telling me it's from me. And I'm like, how's it from me? And if I could be completely honest with you, it was from me. I was that ego when I was a kid. And I said, I'll never be poor and I'll always be happy. And things meant more than experiences. Right. Yeah. So that was miserable. She's like, we just wanted you. You're a terrible father. You're a terrible husband. You talk about how you grew up. You're just the same way and all this stuff. And it just was like a knife. And I didn't know. I was completely lost. I didn't know. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And if I talk
goosebumps listening to it,
if I talk on stage and she's sitting there, I start crying. I can't look at her and talk about it because of what I did to her. And I thought I was being a great husband, a great father. But, I was missing kid stuff and I was just chasing money. And I wasn't chasing money for lifestyle. I was chasing money so I could buy that next beautiful car. I could buy that next watch. I could buy the next boat. I was just trying to impress other people that didn't really like me. Right. And my coach was like, well, why are you doing that? And I said, because I want to do what I want when I want with whom I want. I'm like, well, you're obviously not doing that. It's not working. So that was when you are doing everything that you think you're doing and you're in congruence and you're still not, like when you ever sit around, and for me, like when I was at the Kentucky Derby, I was sitting there, just my one youngest daughter's in nursing school. She couldn't be there, but my little 2 kids, and their significant others were there, and me and my wife were there, and we're hanging out at the Kentucky Derby, and we're having a drink, and we're just out in the sunshine in the chair, and I'm just sitting there and look at them, and it was my birthday present. They brought me there. It was a bucket list item, and they made it happen for my 50th birthday. And I'm sitting there, and I just went like, man, I got it good right now. And I didn't think about my watch, my cars, my boats. It's just like, I got it good. Or when we're out on the beach, like when I'm on the sand, not even on my boat, when I'm on the sand sitting there and all the kids are there. My grandson is there. My little grandson is a baby out there. My daughter-in-law's there. Our friends are there. And we're just barbecuing and playing cornhole and just laughing and have music. Like, man, this is the good life. I couldn't do this before. I was on the phone. I would never have been present. So when you have that feeling, and it doesn't even cost you $1. Like I get up in the summer 4 or 5 days a week at 5 a.m. I grab my coffee. I go down to the beach, whether my wife wants to come or not. My friends want to come or not. I'm on that beach. You'll see me do Facebook Live sometimes, and I'm just watching that sunrise and just listening to the waves and just watching the people. And it doesn't cost $1. Yeah. So when you do that and you're like totally satisfied and you don't have to spend $1, that's when you know you're in alignment with what your vision is. That's my vision, but other people's vision is different. They want to make a lot of money to send their kid to college. They want to make a lot of money to buy their mom a vacation house. They want to make a lot of money to retire to a spouse, whatever it is. But when you're on that path and you stay laser focused on that path, and the people you surround yourself with think like you, and you change lives, right? I got really into abundance and changing lives at a deep level where it hurt most people. But that's truly what brought my happiness, right? It wasn't about me anymore. It was about how do I do what I do to help other people. And that's really comes down to it. But it takes a lot of work. There's exercises you can do. I mean, like one exercise, my wife still won't do it. I did it, and I was hysterical. And I'm not a sensitive guy. I was crying. Is write your eulogy. What would people say at eulogy? And when I had to do this, my mentor made me do this. I couldn't do it without breaking down. I could not come up with something other than my dad was a great provider. He made a lot of money. People liked him. He was a great provider. He was a good football coach. That was it. I couldn't really come. He was funny. Like, that's all I could think of. It was what my kids would say about me. And I was like, man, I really failed. I really did fail. And I made that change. Thank God I made it young. The kids were young enough. And now my kids have taken over. They live abundantly. They're big in donations. They believe in, we have a thing where it's always experiences. Like, you can buy a small gift from me, but it's like always experiences. Like, I want experiences. I don't care about things anymore. So we're always going away on experiences, different things, just, cool things that my kids do for me and we do for each other. And, getting to go to a football game with my son, and the schedule came out yesterday, and I'm like, Johnny, pick out a game. These are the dates I'm available. Which game you want to go? And we're going to fly out to Seattle for the Giants Seattle Seahawks game. We're going to spend the weekend in Seattle, him and I, just having fun. And I don't have to worry about, realtors and inspectors and investors. I don't have to worry about anything. If I have a deal that passes my lap on a Sunday and I'm about to go to a football game, okay, it passed. No problem. I lost out. I don't chase that anymore, right? Because I built a life of vision.
That's great. Dan, awesome insight today. Thank you for hanging out with us. Who should contact you and how can they get a hold of you?
Definitely anyone's looking to live that vision, right? Anyone that's looking to build a legacy wealth for themselves, right? If they want to build a portfolio for themselves, how to do it. I don't have to sell you anything. I don't need to raise your money. How do I do it? How do I invest in deals? How do I live passively? How do I live a vision? And you can definitely hit me up on social media. Unfortunately, on my personal page, you really can't friend request me because I hit that 5,000 all the time. But you can follow me at Dan Zitofsky.
We'll put all your socials on in the description.
Yeah, so you can go there. You can definitely grab a copy. I donate every $1 for the book. Amazon gets theirs, but grab a copy of the book. I'm not here to sell you anything. But it lays out my vision, my why, but it also lays out my business model through the chapters. It's a very easy read. Once again, I wrote it, so I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I just had it edited by a company. But it's a great book. It's a best-selling book, and it's what got me on most stages. So follow my social media. My personal page, Dan Zitofsky. My business page is Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky. I'm on Instagram at Dan Zitofsky. YouTube, I have a page called Zitofsky Capital Management. We're now uploading videos on there, so you'll start to see a lot more videos on there. And I got free cheat sheets I give away and stuff like that to people. It's like white papers. They can really dig in a little bit. But if you want to contact me, just so you know, if you message me, if it's a real message, you're not trying to sell me something or scam me, it's me personally that does get back to you. So I don't have a virtual assistant, but I get back to every person myself. That's something I love to do. I love to answer questions. We do have online training classes. Like I said, I'm not here to sell you anything, but I can't answer how to do A through Z on a Facebook Messenger, of course. It's like a 2-day class I teach. So I put in online training. I do some live events myself, generally like 1 or 2 a year. That's it. I'm not an event planner. I don't want to be. I keep it like 15 to 30 people max. There's a lot of business done in the room. It's either my inner circle event or my training event. I know we'll have one, I think, coming up next October in Florida, and we'll have another one in Puerto Rico, I think, in March. So, and that's pretty much it. Just follow me and you'll see what we do. And if I can help you in any way, I'm just honored and blessed to do so.
Love it. Hey, guys, this has been an awesome discussion. Hope you got a ton out of it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. I hope you got out of this as much as I did. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star review so we can reach more people. Jump over to mariodattilo.net and find out what else I got going on. Be sure to connect with me on all the socials, and I'll see you on next week's show.